Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of The Strain. This week we've seen Season 2, Episode 11, which was entitled Dead End. And, that's quite the literal meaning this week. No deep, complicated metaphor or anything going on with that. Quite the literal brick wall dead end we had going on in this episode. Overall I did like this one quite a bit. It was once again kind of focused on one specific type of thing going on, which I have no real problem with. I mean, when an episode is kind of like centered around like one specific ongoing issue or one main event or moment, then it shows it really gives it more importance, and it especially helps when the thing is enjoyable, and this week's thing definitely was. Eichorst had to definitely be the highlight of the episode. Probably my favorite parts of the episode had to be the flashbacks we got. As you know, if you've been watching The Strain, the flashbacks we've got have been pretty high quality. I mean, I remember all the Abraham flashbacks we got back in Season 1, you got a little bit this Season 2, then, even the Masters, origin flashback we got earlier this season, that was really good as well. And, some are a little bit so-so, when Setrakian is, chasing after the German for the cane and stuff like that, but most of them, are still, really, really nice to see, really, really interesting to see. My favorite ones are still probably the flashbacks to Setrakian and Eichorst at one of the Nazi concentration camps in Season 1. I just thought that was really good. And I really like how we got the flashbacks focused on Eichorst's a life before he became, the Master's right hand, pretty much. And, I just thought it was really interesting because Eichorst has pretty much been this villain, just straight up, just completely evil, no redeeming qualities, no sympathy, nothing whatsoever. And after this week's episode, he's still obviously the villain, he still has that complete, obviously, antagonist thing about him. And, the terrible things he's done have been erased, they've really just been more amplified, and it's oh yeah, okay, it's lots worse. It's pretty much just where it started kind of thing, It doesn't take away any of the terrible things he's done. It just makes it more, okay, so this is when it started going on, and this is what kind of lost the last bit of him there ever could have been in the first place. And I think the flashback this week did a really good job of explaining sort of just his psychology and why he wanted to kind of go into the Nazi ranks, and how that eventually led to, of course, joining up with Strigoi, take over the world army and stuff like that. We didn't have a whole lot else going. I'll talk more about that, obviously, and what was going on with Dutch, as, of course, Eichorst held her captive this week. But before that, we did have a couple other little things going on this week, and that was pretty much with Gus, taking that family, across the border, to get out of the city and stuff like that. And he was going to have Angel, the Silver Angel, kind of come with him to, see him all the way through. But Angel, has that, he kind of wants to do something more with his life too, and he just feels this need that he can be of use, and he wants to be of use to something like this. So Angel ends up staying behind with Gus, to fight, for the cause and stuff like that. I'm still wondering when Gus is really going to become part of our core group. I'm guessing it might not be until a season or two, I don't know. But, I did like seeing Gus again this week, and I think Kat's probably going to go to the door again, isn't she? I don't know. Okay, she's good right now. Someone said I should definitely make a compilation of, letting my cat in and out and stuff like that. But, anyway, I'm still not really sold on the Silver Angel character. I mean, I do like the actor in the role. I can tell he's a good level actor, but I just don't see, how he can really be of use. I know he's probably going to be able to fight Strigoi and stuff like that, but he has a bad knee, and he's a 60, 70-year-old guy. realistically, he won't really be of much help, but he could end up being a pretty enjoyable character, I think. And it is based off a comic book and, a vampire novel and stuff like that, so, you can kind of excuse little things like that, I guess. I did miss seeing Quinlan this week, and we haven't seen him for a few episodes now, and, check out the door. Yeah, she is. But we did see the lady who was driving him around, and she ends up helping Gus and the family get across and stuff like that. So I did like seeing that, and him and Angel go in a car at the end, and she drives off with both of them. So they have that going on at least, and it kind of looks like in the previews for I'll let my cat out. You guys shouldn't be surprised at this point. I'm sure you're not. Hopefully she doesn't let back in within the next, 10 minutes or so. But, yeah. So at least we got to see her, so you kind of get the feeling that, he's, around and stuff like that. But anyway, the previews for next week's episode, kind of give off the impression that Gus, kind of knows some other people around, sort of like his homies, his gang and stuff like that. People he's like kind of known throughout his life, I think, just with the way he's grown up, of course, and it looks like he's going to try and convince them to join up to, Quinlan's cause, not necessarily the Ancients' cause, because we know Quinlan's going to try and stop the Master, but it won't be, for the Ancients restoring order or anything like that. It'll be because Quinlan just wants to kill his father. But it looks like Gus is going to try and make the other guys, join the cause, and we'll see how that goes. And my cat's out the door once again. I really don't understand her. I just fed her, and she still wants in and out every 2 minutes, so I don't really... Someone explain that to me. Is she bored? Does she want attention? Because I played with her earlier, so I don't know. I don't understand her a lot lately. Just as I open the door, she runs off, and now she's still standing a few feet away, so this will probably happen again. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's kind of frustrating and stuff. It is for me, trust me. But, yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to that, with the previous or next week's episode. And, of course, we also had Setrakian, he was, kind of held captive by the kid he had saved, in the flashback a couple episodes ago. And, he was knocked out at the end of last week's episode. Turns out the kid that, is now grown up now, looks like in his, 50s, nearing 60s somewhere, I think. Because we know, of course, that Abraham was actually, 90-something, but with all the blood, he's managed to keep himself alive. And stuff like that, the Strigoi stuff that we've seen him putting in his eyes and stuff, earlier this season. So, I did kind of tie back to that flashback, and, the guy just kind of ended up leaving with Lumen for basically the same reason why the Cardinal wouldn't give it to him, because, there's other bidders, and he went to see, Cream, who was a black guy we've seen dealing with Gus, at various points over the series and stuff like that. So now that guy has a hold of it. But not the worst hands to be in, but I'm kind of getting tired of this loop and circle of chase and stuff like that. I'm hoping our characters at least have a Lumen by the end of the season and they actually do something with it. Because I'm kind of getting tired of this cycle of almost getting it but not. And the same can be said for how Eichorst was dealt with at the end here, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Of course, the main part of the episode was Eichorst's torment of Dutch and the flashbacks. And I mentioned the flashbacks earlier, I know. And, it showed Eichorst, he was at one point a salesman, kind of during the Depression era in Germany and stuff like that. You see him down on his luck, he's trying to sell radios, and he's just kind of brought down, by his boss and the other employees and stuff like that. You can all kind of relate to that at some point, right? I still need to get a job, but I can definitely understand, that part of it. And, and he also has a girl he's kind of fond of, a secretary who is working at the same place. They go out for dinner, then this Nazi, I don't know what you call him exactly, but this Nazi, ends up standing up on the table and making this speech, and it kind of draws Eichorst in. It gives him I think a sense of purpose, control, and power and stuff like that, and usefulness and things of that nature. It kind of just they found Eichorst at the weakest time, and just really gave him something to bite, to chew on and stuff like that. And the real torture was how Eichorst ended up calling Jews and stuff. He really talked up Hitler's plan and stuff, which of course is obviously wrong. And not only that, but then he also talked about how Jews are leeches and basically insects and things like that. He didn't. I don't think he said insects, but you guys know what I'm saying. So she turned out to be a Jew, and and he tried to pull those comments back, but that didn't work out too well. So the date kind of ended there. He did get a kiss out of her earlier though, so there's that. And as Dutch taunted him, he joined up with all this because he couldn't get laid. So that was funny. I do like Dutch quite a bit too, and I was actually glad she survived this episode. I was kind of worried about her, but I did turn it to the replay a few minutes early, so the actual episode is still ending. I forgot it went so much over 11 o'clock, so I did see her rescued before I actually watched the whole episode. So it kind of spoiled it for me, but it was still really, I was worried about her despite that. I have been worried about her all season long. If you guys have been watching my reviews, I still don't think she's a character that's completely safe, but I think she'll probably be good for the season now at this point. Something could happen in the finale, but I think after this episode she'll probably at least survive the season now. And I like that, I actually like her more than Nora. I just find her a little more likable and interesting. But just Eichorst's torment, basically prettying up Dutch with the lipstick and stuff to make her look like a Helga. And again, those flashbacks we see Eichorst, ends up meeting that girl again, and she was kind of on trial almost. The Nazis had found her, and he had a chance to sort of redeem himself and bail her out, but he ended up saying she was suspected of thievery and stuff at his workplace, and so she ends up being hung. And when Eichorst sees her like that, you can see he might have regretted doing that. You can see a glimpse of that breaking him a little bit. But then you see the Nazi officer watching him that recruited him, and then he just tosses his cigarette at the body and stuff like that. Showing that, oh yeah, that's what you get, for going against Hitler's whatever. But you can tell at that point Eichorst did regret doing that kind of stuff, but after that point I do think he kind of just became more cold, and everything else after that didn't really affect him as much, so he just got more and more lost and too far gone, right? So that was still really interesting to see, though. I just like seeing the psychology of it and stuff like that. And Eichorst is still very much a villain. He's not going to be an anti-hero now or anything like that, but it's still cool seeing the start of it and sort of seeing every step of the way, most steps of the way anyway. So yeah, that was really cool. And his torment of Dutch, giving her pineapple to season her and make her blood and other things I was planning on taste sweeter. That was pretty mature and stuff like that. And then also, with the lipstick I mentioned earlier, then this Dutch's joke about how he lost his dick 70 years ago, because we've seen Mr. Gory on here, especially with Boulevard in season 1, how his dick dropped off and stuff like that, fell off. Dutch makes a joke, you lost your dick 70 years ago, what are you going to do with me, after he makes her take her pants off and stuff. And then he's trying to make her bend over, and you can see he's going to use his tongue to, I don't need to tell you what he's going to do with that. But she had gotten pepper spray from the officer. Eichorst had run and killed in front of her, and so she sprays him with that, ends up running. She runs around the little hotel area, but it's a maze, and then everything leads to a brick wall. And as Fett and Nora and Ephraim, they're just kind of, they only had a few scenes in this episode, but they're going around, and Fett kind of explained, he has a degree in architecture, remember? So he explains, it's one of the abandoned parts of the building for certain reasons and stuff like that. And I did really like Fett in this episode, even though he wasn't around too much. Just seeing how desperate he was to get to Dutch in time. As he was like banging through the brick wall and stuff, and he set the dynamite to it. I really like Kevin Durand's acting in the role. Very fun, very awesome. Of course, I loved Kevin Durand in Dark Was the Night recently, so definitely check that one out if you like horror movies. Great film, minus the monster reveal, but we can't talk about that right now. So yeah, that was good. I was kind of surprised to see that Dutch actually did survive, because I thought when they were sort of like showing the shot of Fett and the rest of them like coming up the stairs and her coming down, it was kind of making us think, oh, maybe they'll run into each other and they'll be able to fend off Eichorst, but no, it led to another brick wall, and Eichorst ended up dragging her along, but like I said, Fett ended up getting through that brick wall, with the rest of them, and he threw that silver flash grenade, and, that separated Eichorst from Dutch, and, they got Dutch back. And so that was cool. It was exciting and stuff like that, but I am getting tired of like these confrontations with the Eichorst and just ending in him fleeing with like a little bit of an injury. I don't know if I want him to die at this point yet. I kind of want that to be with him and Abraham like a little bit later in the series at some point, but still, like these confrontations, like these fights like a couple episodes ago and stuff, like the battle for Red Hook, it just ends with him fleeing over and over again. It's really formulaic, and it's starting to get it is a little bit annoying. So I just wish they'd come with something different, even if they're not going to kill him off at this point. Have him kill someone on their side, or have him, just something different happen. Come on, they can think of something, right? But yeah, I did like that overall, though, the whole chase sequence and stuff, and how the flashbacks really tied in so well to it. And of course, we can see that Dutch is going to be carrying those scars with her for a while. The trauma of it all and stuff, even though the worst of it she prevented from happening, still that's going to stick with her. And I did like Kevin Durand's acting again as Fett when he was holding Dutch in the back of the truck there. You can see how bad he feels about it, and how he probably wishes he could have gotten there sooner and stuff. And the look F and Nora shared, I wasn't sure what that meant. They're just like thinking about it all happening and stuff, but I was reading the IGN review. Again, not the most reliable place all the time, but I do look at the reviews for the show every week. And they pointed out how that was probably referring to Nora wondering if Ephraim has that same sense of loyalty and commitment to her that Fett has for Dutch, and at this point probably not. So yeah, there's that. So not the best of times for F at this point. But yeah, so that's all I really have to say about this episode. I really like this one. Definitely brought me back up after watching a kind of lackluster Fear the Walking Dead episode. So this episode this run is very good on the other hand. Really did like it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can add me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, Movie Pilot, and look for me on SpoiledDead.com. Catch you guys next time, and peace.